Everyone, I want to talk to you today about the cost of waiting, the emotional exhaustion, the decision fatigue, carrying all that uncertainty alone, and just waiting for something to quote unquote get better or for your child to grow out of it. And I want to talk about why most families who come to me don't regret asking for help. They literally regret waiting until they were exhausted. Hi, I'm Dr. Ellie. I'm the founder and CEO of Middle Path Integrated Pediatrics here in Asheville, North Carolina. And if you need a holistic pediatrician, integrative health, functional medicine, definitely check out my website, middlepathintegratedpediatrics.com. All right, let's dive right in. Okay, so many examples, but I'm going to tell you my little story first because this is such a silly little story, but I think it's relatable. Okay, after Hurricane Helene, so if you don't know Hurricane Helene, you're not in Nashville. It was horrible. There were trees down. We were out of power, water, everything for weeks and weeks and weeks. Eventually we had to evacuate. Our basement had flooded. Trees were down everywhere. Businesses were going out of business and people were really struggling financially. Houses were just washed away down the river. It was super bad. In my case, it wasn't terrible, but it was annoying. Okay, so my trees were down, our fence was out, our basement had flooded, we didn't have power, we didn't have water, all of that. And so we dealt with all the crisis and we came back, we worked virtually and all the different things that you do during a hurricane. And, it was winter. And so I was like, okay, whatever, it's winter, sleeping fine. And then all of a sudden, the street light behind us got repaired. So if you don't know, it took like forever for all the crews to get out and repair every little bit. In the immediate, they were super good. They were repairing things super, super fast. But there were just certain little things that were kind of a little bit delayed. So this one street light just happened to be one of those. So it got repaired. But because all the trees were down in my backyard, because we previously had trees, I didn't notice that the street light was shining literally into our bedroom. And once the trees were all destroyed, for lack of a better word, they'd all fallen down and been chainsawed and taken away and all of the rest. This street light was so bright and it was just beaming into my bedroom every single night. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep. I'm exhausted. I got a little sleep mask. It still didn't help. I was like, well, maybe just roller curtain things. They weren't good enough. So the little blinds, that the light filters through. And I was just like, this is terrible. And then I was waking up at 4 a.m. and I was just getting a few hours of sleep. And I was like, okay, I've got to buy blackout curtains, clearly. So that resulted in research. Okay. Hours of research. You guys, I had tabs open to Wayfair and Quince, if you know that one, and other home stores. I had visited TJ Maxx. I had gone to, one of those big box stores in the mall. I had measured the window multiple times. I had put things in my cart. I had, checked somewhere else, asked my sister, closed the cart, gone back to it 3 months later, or 3 weeks later rather, tried again, couldn't decide on the colors. Maybe the color was wrong. Maybe the fabric was wrong. But you know what I really needed was just a freaking curtain to block the light. Okay. But this went on for months and, I was tired. And why did I take so long to make the decision? And I will tell you, when I finally bought this curtains, I did not wake up and go, wow, these curtains are the most beautiful curtains in the, my whole world. I just said, thank heavens I finally got sleep. And that is the cost of delaying care, okay? Same with your kids' issues, your own issues, that type of thing. I'm going to tell you an example. I actually take care of a patient who's 76. She's coming for our parent program. She's a grandparent. We do take grandparents for our parent program. And she had gone years without taking care of herself. She was taking care of her, first her child and then her grandchild and now her great grandchild. She was just had a big career, but she was just getting sicker and sicker and she was exhausted and she gained weight and she was had finally been diagnosed diabetic, and now she was getting really scared because here her health was just, not okay. And so she finally came to me, and 3 months later, sleeping well, losing weight, her hemoglobin A1C was dropping, which, if you don't know what that means your diabetes is getting better, and just feeling amazing. And she just said to me, Dr. Ellie, like, why did I not come sooner? Like, I'm so glad I finally came. And imagine all those years that she could have felt like that. She could have felt so good. But we just kind of are like, well, we'll do it later, and we don't think about, well, what's the cost of waiting? Maybe I'm not feeling well enough to spend time with my grandchild. Maybe I'm not able to take that trip because I'm just exhausted. Maybe my gut's such a mess that I'm embarrassed to go out with friends, or my child's embarrassed and they don't want to go out with friends, So what is that cost? I had one kiddo that came to my practice and just struggling with chronic constipation for years and years, was told, by the GI, Miralax, which, if you don't know, that's kind of a laxative, more water, more fiber. But it had gotten so bad that they actually were having something called like onchopresis. So this is like when kids will start to kind of hold and get in cycles, and then sorry for the visual, but essentially the poop starts to kind of leak around other poop, and they have poop accidents, and it's smelly and it's really embarrassing. It's psychologically just destructive. And they had just decided, I'm not going out. They were afraid to go out with friends. They were afraid to go to school. They had anxiety. And, finally parents reached out because they had tried all the things. They hadn't done anything wrong. I'm not saying that. They had gone to their pediatrician. They'd gone to the GI. They'd tried the medications, waiting for it to get better. But they were just getting Band-Aids, and the root cause was just never getting addressed. And so what was the cost of them not coming sooner? Well, that was all of their child's health issues, psychological and mental and emotional, on top of the physical things. Okay. Lucky to say that child is now going to the bathroom, not having those issues anymore, and starting to get much more social. So this is one of the things that we talk about at Middle Path, is that parents should not have to carry these decisions alone. You should have someone that can help you walk through the various options and decide, like, is this something that we can treat naturally with functional medicine, herbs, botanicals, or is this a case, like, maybe it is a rare case that you need to use something pharmaceutical, or it's an emergency where you just need to do something a little more dramatic, like a cast or surgery, heaven forbid. But those things do happen too. Okay. I want to talk about, sometimes relief begins with making the decision that you've been avoiding. So if you are the person at home, and I see you, that has a million browsers open, you have been searching the Mayo Clinic, and you've been looking at the holistic TikTok influencer, and you've been searching for the supplement stack that will work on your own, and you've been researching because your friend's baby has constipation, they did X, Y, and Z, and it worked for them. And you've definitely researched ChatGPT and Claude to make sure it's all good. And, you've talked to your husband, but they think that it's too expensive. If you're that person, schedule a meet and greet. Let's just talk about if this is right for you. Because really, sometimes just making the decision to walk with someone who can actually help you is the least expensive thing that you can do for your health, for your child's health, your mental health, their mental health, and really just have peace of mind. So if you've been wondering whether Middle Path is right for your family, we would love to simply have a conversation. So just go to www.middlepathintegratedpediatrics.com, book a meet and greet. There's just that little button right there. We'll also link it in the show notes. If you want to know what we're up to over here, just lots of being outside, walking the two dogs that can walk. The other one had the surgery, making lots of healthy meals. I have celiac, for those of you that you don't know. So I'm your gluten-free and dairy-free friend. So if you need help with that, happy to tell you all about my struggles with that. And if you think celiac is choice, definitely come and talk to me. I have some things to say about that. Anyway, I'm just being silly. All right, you guys, thank you for spending these few minutes with me. Parenting is full of all kinds of questions, and my hope is that each week you leave just, feeling a little bit more confident, a little calmer, a little less alone. And until next time, take good care of yourself and the ones that you love, the little ones too. And I will see you soon. Bye.